It's Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. The shutdown rolls into week 4, but some signs it could end as soon. Probably not a great idea to have one company at the center of the internet. And one story out of France I'm surprised isn't getting more attention. Next on the AM Update. Traders on prediction platforms Kalshi and Polymarket are betting that the federal government shutdown will last about 6 weeks, as gridlock shows little sign of easing. While odds on the markets don't serve as formal forecasts, of course, they do provide real-time snapshots of trader expectations. Yesterday morning, those betting markets showed signs of optimism. The shutdown could end as soon as this week, as scuttlebutt on Capitol Hill seemed to indicate there were some senators in the Democrat Party that were starting to get a little bit wobbly. Those were some indications before yesterday. Senate Democrats once again voted down a clean continuing resolution that would have opened up the federal government. Back in the House, Speaker Mike Johnson laid once again the blame at the feet of Democrats.
And it's also important for us to note this is the first time in history that any party has had the audacity to shut down the government over a totally clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution. This is a political stunt. And it's the first time it's been done, and it is the most costly, most selfish, most dangerous political stunt in the history of the United States Congress. Because as we have stood here day after day after day explaining all the Americans who are being harmed by this nonsense.
Again, I just wanted to see whether it was possible for us to have an extended shutdown. I said that at the very beginning, the outset of this government shutdown, and yet again, we're entering into a first full month of this government shutdown, and it's not really that big of a news story right now, so that kind of tells you everything you need to know. Here's House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
Donald Trump definitively needs to get involved. He needs to get off the sidelines, get off the golf course, and actually decide to end the shutdown that he's created, that he has allowed to happen. We know that House and Senate Republicans don't do anything without getting permission from their boss, Donald J. Trump. And the reason why there have been no negotiations, zero negotiations, since Republicans shut the government down, is because Donald Trump clearly wants the government shut down. He wants to inflict pain on the American people. And
yeah, once again, that's just not the case. It is the Senate Democrats, yet again, led by Chuck Schumer, who are leading the charge to keep the government closed. Of course, we've gone through this ad nauseum over the past few weeks. What is the real motivation for the Democrats to continue to shut down the government? And I'm pretty laissez-faire towards this. I know the White House wants the government back open. I just want to see, hey, can we function as a country without the government being open for an extended period of time? So far, the answer to that question is an unequivocal yes. At the same time, I'm just curious from a political standpoint. Still, at this point, what are the Democrats' motivations? At first, it was health care for illegal aliens, maybe transgender surgeries for the mentally ill. And then it came out that they want to continue the Obamacare subsidies, covering up and hiding the true cost of Obamacare for the average American, thus admitting that Obamacare is indeed, the Affordable Care Act is indeed unaffordable. That continues to be the message as we continue into week 4 of the government shutdown. They want these Obamacare subsidies to continue. I wonder if there is some real fear amongst Democrats that if these subsidies were allowed to expire and the public were allowed to feel the full brunt of the cost of the Affordable Care Act, if that would be turned against them effectively by Donald Trump and thus put at stake, at risk, the end of single-payer health care in this country, because that's essentially what we have right now with these subsidies. Again, something interesting to keep an eye on. Betting markets kind of all over the place yesterday in terms of when the government shutdown will end. Well, one thing I think is not a great idea is having one company at the center of so much of the infrastructure of the World Wide Web, and that would be Amazon Web Services, or AWS. An outage on Amazon's web hosting service caused a sweep of app outages after the company faced issues on an East Coast operations center. AWS hosts about 6.3% of all websites, but some of the biggest brands, communications platforms also rely on the service. it's not just hosting, it's a bunch of other infrastructure that AWS provides as well. When reports started rolling in around 3 a.m. Eastern time yesterday morning, Amazon said it was dealing with an operational issue that was affecting 14 services at its Northern Virginia center. Snapchat, McDonald's, and even Ring doorbell cameras were among some of the applications affected. Even gaming platforms like Roblox and Fortnite were affected, as were messaging and communications programs like Zoom and Signal. According to NBC News, about 6.5 million reports piled up that said over 1,000 sites and services had gone offline. So yes, I don't think it's a great idea, especially for some of the biggest companies, to have one company at the center as some of their most important and crucial infrastructure. And we witnessed that yesterday. X, though, credit to Elon Musk, one of the few websites out there, one of the few major websites and services out there that did not suffer any outages yesterday morning. Well, you'll never guess the results of this poll from New York City. Well, you probably will, actually. Among Americans born in New York, Andrew Cuomo leads the field, 40% to Zoran Mamdani's 31% and Curtis Sliwa's 25%. Sliwa, the Republican, Andrew Cuomo, the independent, Zoran Mamdani, the Islamist Democrat. Among foreign-born New Yorkers, Zoran Mamdani leads the field with an astounding 62%, followed by Andrew Cuomo at 24%, Curtis Sliwa at 12%. That's according to Patriot Polling, which admittedly is an outlet I have not heard of. Totally believable poll, though. Among foreign-born New Yorkers, Zoran Mamdani approaching a supermajority amongst support, according to this poll. Surprised this story is not getting more play out of France. French authorities are investigating after a robbery at the Louvre Museum in Paris saw a group of thieves get away with priceless jewelry on a moped. Large numbers of tourists who wanted to see the Mona Lisa had their plans thwarted. After the Louvre said it would stay closed for exceptional reasons, the thieves targeted the museum's Apollo Gallery, which houses what remains of France's crown jewels. They appear to have used a mechanical ladder to access an upper floor where they broke a window to enter the building. Paris prosecutors say the damage is being assessed, while Culture Minister Rachida Dati says one stolen item was found near the museum after thieves had fled. French media say the item was a crown belonging to Napoleon III's wife, Eugène, which was damaged. Interior Minister Laurent Nunez described the stolen jewels as priceless and of immeasurable heritage value. Cannot believe that story. I only heard about that later on in the day, after this story had been out there for several hours. It's just possible. There was a picture at the scene of the crime. It was just a ladder truck, basically a crane, that was used to access an upper window of the Louvre, smashed through the window, smashed through whatever protective barrier in between the thieves and the jewels, and they just made out like bandits on a moped. Unbelievable. What does that say? If that's what's protecting heritage France, what does that say about the rest of the country? Check out this couple of quick items before the break. Here's actor Robert De Niro talking about White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, who is in fact a Jew. Listen to this.
He will not. We see it all the time. He will not want to leave. He set it up with his. I guess he's the Goebbels of the cabinet. Stephen Miller. He's a Nazi. Yes, he is, and he's Jewish.
I appreciate the honesty, Robert De Niro. That's a real quote. I did not edit that at all. Stephen Miller, he's a Nazi. Yes, he is, and he's Jewish. I appreciate the honesty there. You know, the double-mindedness, obviously, but at least he realized in real time, yes, I really just said that on MSNBC. Elsewhere, Tim Miller is a he's a lefty. He used to cosplay as some sort of gay right-winger. He interviewed former White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, and actually, credit to him, challenged her on media access to the Biden White House.
We did have legislative wins.
Sure, and but he didn't talk about him that well, though. He couldn't talk about them. He wasn't campaigning.
No. Wait. First of all, he did talk about them. Whether it broke through or not, he did. Tim, he did talk about.
I mean, he talked way less to the press than Donald Trump does. Way less. And he wasn't out there at all. He wasn't good off the cuff. He wasn't doing press conferences. Let's just be real. Like, he didn't do night events.
Tim, that's not true. Tim, you're conflating all of it. That's what you're doing. No, you're telling me he didn't talk well about it. Then you're telling me he didn't talk at all.
He didn't do either. He didn't talk very often, and when he did, it wasn't very good.
Yeah,
he sounded very old.
Maybe you weren't paying attention to what we were doing at the White House. But
I paid attention. I'm with you on the policies. I'm talking about his performance.
The president spoke to the American people a couple times a week.
There is Karine Jean-Pierre, former Biden White House press secretary. Say what you want about Karine Jean-Pierre. She seems to be very loyal to Joe Biden, much to her detriment. But she seems to be very loyal. Maybe that's just her ego talking. Maybe she's just loyal to herself and she is trying to gaslight just to save her own keister. Maybe that's what's really going on there, because she is a lefty, and so loyalty means nothing over there. But that's how it comes off. It just comes off that she's very loyal to Joe Biden. When we come back, President Trump smacks down some Australian dude right to his face. The intersection of artificial intelligence, defense contractors, and Christianity. Yes, that's for real. And Curtis Sliwa, the Republican candidate for New York City mayor, addresses whether or not he should drop out of the race. It's coming up next. At the White House yesterday, President Trump signed a deal with Australia for rare earth minerals. In the midst of that meeting, he smacked down some Australian dude straight to his face. This would be the ambassador from Australia.
Even the things the ambassador said about you in the past, the Australian ambassador?
I don't know anything about him. I mean, if he said bad, then maybe he'll like to apologize. I really don't know. Did an ambassador say something bad about him? Don't tell me. I don't. Where is he? Is he still working for you?
Yeah.
You said bad?
Before I took this position, Mr. President.
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will. Go ahead.
So President Trump had no idea. I think it was some member of the Australian press was trying to pit Trump against the Australian ambassador. Trump didn't know who he was talking about. Turns out the Australian ambassador was sitting right there in the room, and President Trump turns to him and says, "Yeah, I don't like you either, and I never will." I mean, off the cuff, what can you say? That is vintage Trump. Also, at that same meeting, this happened.
Oh, you got to watch that. Watch that. You're not allowed to break that. That mirror is 400 years old. A camera just hit the mirror. I just moved it up here special from the vaults, and the first thing that happens, a camera hits it. Hard to believe, isn't it? Hard to believe. But these are the problems in life.
I mean, it's remarkable. I would have said 10 years ago, I wouldn't have even paid any attention to this story or anything like this, or this clip. It's not really a story. 10 years ago, I would have either not paid attention to it or rolled my eyes. But this dude, 1 week, is flying basically nonstop to Israel, to Egypt, back to the White House for a ceremony at the White House to present the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously to Charlie Kirk. The next week, he is going toe-to-toe with the Australian ambassador, smacking him, putting him in his place, and then criticizing the camera guy for breaking a 400-year-old mirror. The dude is a psycho, but he's our psycho. Palmer Luckey is a professing Christian. He is the designer of the Oculus Rift, that's a virtual reality headset. He's the founder of the defense technology company Endural Industries. He talked about being made in the image of God, as well as Terminator robots and artificial intelligence with Joe Rogan recently. This clip courtesy of Protestia. Listen to this.
Humanity. Why would it make its agents, so uniformly human shaped? But that's just something I ponder from time to time.
It's just for deception.
Well,
sneak around.
The later ones truly were for deception. But if you look at a lot of the flashes into the future, they don't have meat-shielded Terminators. There's lots of like T-series humanoid combat robots that are just walking around as bare metal skeletons. And so I feel like that it's almost like an admission that the AI does see itself in the mind of it. It sees itself as a creation of man. It sees itself in the eyes of man.
That's what's very creepy, right? Because that's in the Bible. God created man in his image.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like it's very much like it realizes it was created in man's image and derives some sort of satisfaction or value from that.
Well,
I don't know if that's good or bad, but
just
I thought it was
interesting.
interesting.
Cycle, and that's how life eventually does create artificial life.
Like that. And actually, you're familiar. I'm a religious person. I'm a Christian, and I feel like what you see where God was created, or man was created in God's image, I feel like it's reflected in our desire to create things in our own image. And so I think there's a beautiful symmetry there. If we're doing it, it's actually easier for people to believe, I think, that it happened to us. It's easier for people to believe that we have a creator who wanted to create something in his own image when we are doing the same.
Well, so that is Palmer Luckey, founder of Anduril Industries. That's a defense technology contractor company, talking to Joe Rogan about artificial intelligence, robots, and the intersection of that with Christianity. It's an interesting perspective. I'm not totally sure if I necessarily agree with it. I mean, the Tower of Babel was something made in man's image, fallen man's image, and that was something that God put the kibosh on. So not everything that man makes is necessarily made with the utmost and highest and best and good, true, and beautiful intentions, obviously. And I don't think that's what Palmer Luckey is talking about there. But it is interesting to hear his perspective as coming out of the defense industry and as a professing Christian nonetheless. Maybe I'm misunderstanding him on some level, because he did receive some interesting feedback, positive feedback from what appeared to be Christians to that clip as well. So there has been a long-standing quip now, long-standing in terms of this year's news cycles, that Curtis Sliwa, the Republican candidate for New York City mayor, is splitting the anti-Zohran Mamdani vote, and that he should drop out in favor of Andrew Cuomo. The thinking is that the anti-Zohran Mamdani vote will coalesce behind somebody who actually has more support as an independent candidate than Curtis Sliwa does as the Republican candidate. He made these comments on the Nate Friedman show, and you know what? I'm actually inclined to agree with Curtis Sliwa. Listen to this.
However, I think it is clear to New Yorkers who are against Mamdani that you and Cuomo are splitting the anti-Mamdani vote. So my question is simple. Are you okay if Mamdani wins that you, so to speak, contributed to that?
Well, number one, Ackman is a jerk. Has he been right yet? Here's a guy who goes up to Newport, Rhode Island and thinks he's a professional tennis player.
He's referring to businessman Bill Ackman, who has been one of the most prominent voices in calling on Curtis Sliwa to drop out.
Come on, Ackman, stay in your lane. Does he know anything about politics? No. Does he live in New York City? No. He lives in Chapaka, the whitest suburb of America, where even the lawn jockeys are white. He may know Wall Street. He may know hedge funds. He has been wrong every step of the way with the billionaires. So let's say people come to the conclusion, if somehow I lose, and we know Andrew Cuomo's lost, he's already tossed in the town. Oh, it's because of you, Curtis. Really? It's because of the Democrats. Wait a second. Who created Zohran Mamdani? Who embraced him? Who nourished him? Who supported him? And how dare you, people who know nothing about politics, suggest that everybody who's going to vote for me is suddenly going to be reborn. We love Andrew Cuomo. He killed all these elderly. He's a sexual harasser. He told conservatives and Republicans in 2014, if you're conservative and you believe in right to life and the Second Amendment, you have no place in New York. You need to leave. This is the result of the Democrat self-destruction. So I'm supposed to help them? How come they don't help themselves? Andrew Cuomo failed everybody in that primary. He even admitted it. Now he's basically saying, I can't win without Sliwa votes. Where are your votes? Why don't you spend your money? And he's got millions from the billionaires. Millions. Go out, get your own votes. Convert Sliwa voters. But for me to drop out, I represent a major party line. I have people running under me, council people, judges. They put their heart and soul into it. They support me. I have more donations than Andrew Cuomo does, matching funds. So you know something? This is called voting. Sure. Since when do we not let people vote? Billionaires determine the next mayor? If they don't like it, they can leave. They have options. Blue-collar working class people don't. Those are the people I'm representing, not Andrew Cuomo. Sure.
There's Republican candidate nominee for New York City Mayor Curtis Sliwa responding to the quip that has been long-standing this year that he should drop out of the race so as to coalesce the anti-Zohran Mamdani vote. After listening to his response there, I'm not sure if there's a syllable of that I disagree with. Especially the part where he details, kind of as I did on Friday, all of Andrew Cuomo's failings, all of his just radical left-wing positions and actions as governor of New York. And you think that the Sliwa vote is just going to, okay, well, we're voting for Andrew Cuomo now, the guy who killed grandma in the nursing home. We're just going to line up and vote for him. You think that's actually going to happen with enough numbers to defeat Zohran Mamdani? Zohran Mamdani is a result of Andrew Cuomo's failed leadership. And now Curtis Sliwa is supposed to help Andrew Cuomo? I think Curtis Sliwa is absolutely in the right here for being offended at that, for taking offense to that, for calling that out as the stupid that is. I don't know about you. Now, I'm not a New Yorker. I think it's very, very bad for this country. A very bad sign for this country if an Islamist like Zohran Mamdani wins. Very bad for the nation's largest city. I don't want people to suffer needlessly. Do I think that that's probably going to happen? Do I think that that might be necessary? The people might have to experience the consequences of their own voting decisions. Yes, I do. At the same time, I don't want that if it's at all avoidable. But it certainly seems like it's avoidable here, and it's not Curtis Sliwa's fault. That's going to do it for Tuesday. Back at it again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntyre, and this is the AM Update.